You know what's up with that, Pasta.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, please don't freeze. There we go. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Frank Analysis. I'm your host, Franco. You guys read the title. We're going to discuss what El Salvador is doing with Bitcoin, creating this Bitcoin city. Is this an efficient form of counter economics? We're going to present two perspectives here from my friend Jack Sith and my friend Pasta Jardula of the Convo Couch. But before we get into that, I do want to introduce what exactly is going on. So we see here, as reported on France 24, El Salvador president plans Bitcoin city financed by crypto bonds. Bitcoin is going to include everything. And let me just zoom in here so you guys can read. Residential areas, commercial areas, services, museums, entertainment, airport, port, rail. Bukele said at the Latin American Bitcoin Blockchain Conference on Saturday. El Salvador, which has used the US dollar for 2 decades, the US having that stranglehold on El Salvador, as they do with other countries in the global south, was the first country in the world, El Salvador, to legalize Bitcoin as legal tender. Bukele said that the Conchagua volcano will power the whole city and will also power the mining. Bitcoin mining is the process by which new Bitcoin is created using computers that solve complex mathematical problems, a process which demands huge amounts of energy. We discussed some of this in my interviews that I've done with Jack Sith. There's 2 interviews that we've done. You can find one of them on this channel. The second part is in the backup channel because when we were live doing that one, my channel got a strike and then the stream just stopped. Now, I did find out.
Strike for talking about Bitcoin. Like, why would they do that to
It was absolutely
that was the
ridiculous.
Cheese and the trap that we're talking about. Okay.
So, I wanted to mention this part here because I learned from this RT report that apparently there were people that were protesting the country moving to using Bitcoin as a legal tender, and now I'm assuming that there's still going to be some unhappy people with this move towards a Bitcoin city. So for more information on that, on how not everyone is happy about this move, there's an article here on inverse.com. But without further ado, I do want to introduce the guests that we have here. We have Craig Pasta Jardula of the Convo Couch and Jack Sith of Gnomes for Truth. Sorry, I almost botched that. So let's begin with Pasta. You can introduce yourself and you can let everybody know what your stance is on this.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on, Frank. Thank you so much, Jack, for coming on. I listened to a lot of that first interview you guys did, and it was amazing because you laid out a lot of things. There are a lot of questions I still had, and I'm glad we're doing the show to get to that today. As you know, I am not a crypto expert. This is not. Are we on YouTube?
We're on YouTube and on
This is
Roxanne.
not financial advice. This is just my opinions. Want to put that disclaimer out there again so they don't take Frank down. But, as you know, we were sanctioned from YouTube at the same time. This channel that we're on right now and our channel, The Convo Couch, along with the MCSC network, along with Graham Elwood, along with a few others on the same day. And we were demonetized, meaning we couldn't make any monetary gains on YouTube for our business. And the majority of our money didn't come through advertisement or marketing on advertisement. It came through super chats, which are actually direct donations in which YouTube would take a small percentage of, and it would come directly to us. So the fascistic big tech company of YouTube sanctioned and censored us, which led us to another point where we had to find monetary gains. And where do we find that? We found that in the world of Rockfin, in crypto. You know what I'm saying? And without it, I don't know where we would be without it stuff. So I'm not a crypto expert by any means. I know a decent amount. Jack is obviously an expert when it comes to it. But it wasn't
I don't know if I'm an expert, but
you know a lot. You know a decent amount, and I love your perspective. But what I'm trying to say too, as well, is like it wasn't one of those things that we got on the rail like, oh my God, did you hear the new song in town? It's the Bitcoin song. Let's go jump on. No, we were forced to do so. Just like many other countries, many other entities who have been sanctioned by the West with their fascistic banking system, which is the root cause of imperialism, is why they do imperialism, right? So they can implant the IMF, they can implant the federal bank.
100%
but we
agreed.
had no choice. And so we had to find another solution. So I'm not saying that Bitcoin is the final solution or cryptocurrency is the final solution. But when we compare apples to oranges, we're going to see that the apples of Bitcoin are a lot shiny and better tasting than the oranges, the sour oranges that we think are sweet of the federal banking system and the IMF. So there's a lot of questions to answered. And just like my partner Fiorella, she'll say that Bitcoin is not the final answer. And she's obviously seen as another form of capitalism where crony capitalism can take place and they can try to game the system. But to say that the system
and she's
Bitcoin,
100% correct. She's 100% correct.
She's 1,000% correct. But to say that the system of Bitcoin is more gameable and more corrupt than the IMF and the federal banking system, the monetary system, which is the West, you're going to have to prove that, because that's hard to prove.
So, Pasta, you hit on a lot of key points, and this is the first thing I want to say. I'm not against people making money in crypto, because I'd be a hypocrite. That's like after I mined Bitcoin, I didn't make a lot, but when I sold my stuff 2012, 2013, it was about 1,000 back then. I didn't think it'd go higher than that, but again, I made enough to get a few months of rent, and that was good. My issue mainly is that there's a lack of education being given on cryptos on whole, and it's mainly because there's a lot of competing groups that are just essentially the same Wall Street type cats that have figured out that they can use crypto and use these narratives. One of them is called the Digital Currency Group. I covered a little bit of them, and Barry Silbert, who got 45,000 Bitcoin from the FBI. He was the 8th largest holder of Bitcoin at the time, the FBI being the 4th holder. So just for a little perspective, the other thing is that first off, the stock market crashes tomorrow, crypto is going to crash. So the same things that affect the normal stock market, they have effects on this market too. I would more call them Pepsi versus Coke, Democrat versus Republican, on when it comes to fiat versus crypto. I'm not going to say that crypto's the Satan and all this stuff, because I know crypto very well, to the point to where I'm not satisfied on all the projects right now, from the standpoint of I don't think there should be a burden placed on any individual to maintain their sovereignty, especially monetary. Like, that's why I'm not saying don't invest, and why I'm saying no, Pasta, it's bad that you're able to make money off Rockfin, because that's not bad. Like, Odyssey, it has great gameability. They're very fair in their algorithms. You see that because I know that I'm getting videos that I wouldn't normally get on YouTube, and it's refreshing. I love that, and I hope to see a future where people are thinking about privacy and things like that, which are going to be crucial. But I also fear that a lot of this is to get people used to, it's private enough. It's pseudo-anonymous, which is cryptic for saying it's not private. It's a legalese, Pasta. Like, it's Fugazi in many aspects, the way that they have to roll this. And there's a reason for that. And again, like, I don't mind. I think that if people make money doing that, that's fine. But what I do care about is projects like Cardano that are in Africa, putting 5 million kids in the blockchain through projects that are sponsored by Epstein scientists. That shit's fucking nuts, dude. So shit like that, I would love to see more coverage. Yeah. And so, like, but what I see is that
we even have a system, wait 1 second, Jack, where they're talking about putting a digital passport system using blockchain, yet we can't use it for our election. So the way it's being used, we can't demonize the what's it called? I'm looking for a word here. The technology itself, the security itself, because it gets into the wrong hands in the way they use it. People can use, a butter knife in the wrong way, right, as opposed to using it in the right way. So we can't demonize
or a gun
because of the way it's built. And once again, I'm not here to sell the ones that are the ones that are decentralized. I want decentralization, right? Not the ones that can be taken over like Cardano, Ethereum, whatnot. At the end of the day, all roads still lead to Bitcoin because it's the one that is the most safest, in my personal opinion. Go ahead.
Well, in Pasta, that's important because you hit on something key, and that's, what do you define safe? If you define safe as the government can essentially, the software that Coinbase, did you hear the story? Coinbase sold software to the Department of Homeland Security. Do you know what that software was? That software was blockchain analytics software. Do you know what that software does? Every day it goes over.
So please.
Sure. So blockchain analytics is really what fucked up Bitcoin being anonymous, because this software sits in a category. It's kind of like Google for blockchains. So it looks at every single transaction and it tries to connect them using heuristic models, machine learning, some of the most powerful AI on this kingdom come, so that they can literally associate all of your transactions in order, in sequence, every transaction. So even if you move something through 14 wallets, the government, namely the IRS, because at every year the exchanges have to send all your transactions to the IRS. I don't know if they've told you that, but they do. Regardless of what you do, the government now knows everywhere that you've moved your cryptocurrency to. Now, people can argue that there's ways around it. Yeah, sure. But not for the average person, is what I'm getting at. I don't think people should have to be able to run full nodes, which is a requirement to have effective privacy. So if you define safety as having privacy and being able to control your money, then I don't know if Bitcoin's going to be something that can do that for you fully. Now, if you want to hold some and you're okay with the government knowing everything you do with that, and you keep your nose clean and you do all your paperwork and you report everything to the IRS, you're good to go. That's fine. What I'm getting at is that how soon does that become, oh, well, you're spewing, anti-government talking points. Now your address is called tainted, which, if you don't know about tainted Bitcoin, it's kind of the elephant in the room, which is any exchange can mark a transaction as suspect. That's why they do KYC, AML, know your customer, anti-money laws, like anti-money laundering laws, where you have to show your ID. That's why they do that. That's also so with blockchain analytics, they can match a name and face to every transaction. So you're just not seeing what's going on. And now you remember those slides that I showed that show the transactions and they show the wallets? That's all public. So if you don't have privacy at that layer, then it's almost like, what's really going on? Because to me, it's like I don't for one second think that these billionaires are not going to delegate through multiple third parties their Bitcoin. That's how they control their wealth, because they don't want anyone knowing how much they hold, because that puts a target on their back. It's just basic common sense on that. And again, like, we can get into well manipulation and Wyckoff patterns and all these things that normal people need to know, but that's just to get their feet wet in crypto. Now, I'm not here to argue whether, because fiat's atrocious. It's backed by the military, one of the biggest polluters in the world, and to say that, but at the same time, I was a proof of work miner in Bitcoin, and I know not everyone was like me, Pasta. They didn't mine efficiently. I went for efficiency, whereas other people went for horsepower at the cost of efficiency. They had huge electricity bills. Mine were zero. I was using natural heating and cooling through the seasons. I was doing very cutting edge technologies, and I was mentoring people. That's why I got a lot of not reprisal, but the crypto community didn't really like me, because I was not getting them customers to buy their next generation Bitcoin miners every year, which they paid for in Bitcoin. And so Pasta, what I saw was a vicious cycle. I saw like two sides. One of those was no one really just got out like I did and just, went and worked and did that. It was either someone lost their ass and lost their house mining it, and because they got kind of addicted to it, because it was kind of a rush. It was a revolutionary thing in that moment. I would argue before 2013, and it was fully co-opted by Digital Currency Group. But kind of what I'm getting at is that it pollutes. It takes up energy still. And even if geothermal, I would rather the citizens and the populations and all these places, they get taken care of first, and then you use it for something like mining. Because I'd rather a country meet its energy needs for all of its people before it does 1 cent or 1 Satoshi of Bitcoin mining.
Okay. Let me give you, let's unpack two things there right now we have to talk about too as well. Absolutely. Sure. Well, let's talk about the first part about the KYC, know your customer, and how the third parties can obviously track it. They can look at the open source blockchain right there, understand where wallets are being created through your third party like Coinbase or whatnot. That is a problem. I got it. But is as much as a problem as being able to control the system itself? Like, for instance, can you point to one situation where Bitcoin has done something to the point where the central banks, along with all the third parties like Robinhood and TD Ameritrade, when they actually stop the buying of a stock, so therefore the bigwigs can recuperate their money when they were shorting the stock at the certain time? Another one so the control of it.
Pasta,
what's that?
I'm
talking Bitcoin. I'm talking Bitcoin first.
I can give you an example in crypto, and I can find one specific for Bitcoin, but for now, just take Ethereum. They're in the DAO hack. The DAO hack was this event where this DAO, this decentralized autonomous organization, was hacked. Now, people lost their money that they were invested in that. What Ethereum did, and this is this Ethereum Foundation, there's Grayscale Ethereum Trust, is owned by the same people that own the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, largest private holders of all Ethereum and all Bitcoins, the same group connected to both these companies, Pasta. What Ethereum Foundation did this shady ass group, is they forked it. And the new fork, all of the investors did not lose their ETH. They kept it. And they were able to sell what they recovered as Ethereum Classic, which was listed on exchanges. So they double dip, Pasta. It's exactly like the GameStop scenario.
That's Ethereum, because once again, it's centralized. It's not decentralized like Bitcoin.
I got one for you right now.
Like I said, yes, I will dip my toe into these other coins, but I take my coins and I move them over to Bitcoin as quickly as possible because I understand what Bitcoin is all about. And that is not a situation that's kind of similar happened with Bitcoin that it did to Wall Street bets. Yes, Ethereum, and at the end of the day, Ethereum and Cardano, they're out in the open and they can be slaughtered like a lamb. And that's that thing. With Bitcoin, that hasn't happened because I don't know if this is possible. Maybe you can explain it to me. Did somebody go in and
there's mining cartels?
What's that?
There's mining, because mining is a multi-million-dollar venture. There are mining cartels, and I mean that in a polite term. There's honest miners. I know a lot of them, and I was keeping in touch with them, especially the ones in China. And I was hearing everything go down. It went from the government was giving them free energy. They were able to use geothermal and get paid for it. But what I'm getting at is that you and I can't go out and mine Bitcoin, which the argument for decentralization with Bitcoin is that it's a proof of work cryptocurrency that's mined by miners and that no one can overtake the network. Well, governments, China knew that they had to ban crypto for like the 18th million time because there was too much centralization in China. It made everyone nervous. So the world's coordinating how the mining's distributed. Now, unless you own one of these mining outfits.
People would argue the fact that they banned mining because they wanted people to go into their digital yuan. That's another argument I've heard as well.
They can both be true.
There are cartels that deal directly with cocaine to cash. So most of the cartels in the world, as we know, we have to set this straight.
Yeah, but I'm not arguing for fiat.
They're from people dealing drugs to get our dollar, the American dollar.
The U.S. dollar is a piece of shit. The U.S. dollar is covered in blood and covered with all kinds of horrendous shit. I'm not arguing for the U.S. dollar. All I'm saying is that I think we need to have some realism.
What are we arguing for? Because like I asked Franco, you're not going to tell me that we're going to start polishing semi-precious stones to trade for bread, housing, and food. We have to take steps to get to a place where we want to get. You know what I'm saying?
I would take a holistic model. Yeah, and I'm saying take a holistic approach. You look into precious metals, diversify. Don't just look at cryptos. Look at multiple things. Building local community is the best investment you can do right now. Exactly. Buy land.
Buy land.
We agree.
I agree.
So take your profits from crypto and put it into something stable like land. That's what I'm kind of getting at, Pasta. I'm not saying you can't make money with the system. I'm saying that when we frame this stuff for all of the viewers, we need to make sure that we understand that there are digital currency group talking points, such as Bitcoin's a store of value. And again, it's not that I disagree with these talking points because they're really clever. Bitcoin is counter economics is one. Bitcoin is digital gold. If you've heard those before, those are from the digital currency group. Now, I know Max Kaiser says them a lot. That doesn't mean he's in the pockets of the digital currency group. I'm not inferring that at all. What I'm getting at is there's a group that has these narratives that are throughout all industries. It's not just Bitcoin. It's Ethereum. It's all of these. There's a lot of fugaziness, Pasta.
Jack, I wouldn't deny that. But we also have to be realistic that we need to live, buy food, put a roof over our head. So we have to go in one avenue. We can't just say that they're all bad and be like a contrarian about everything without a solution. That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying
and the diversity, I believe, diversify your bonds. And I want to get to the second part when you get a chance. So.
Sure. Yeah. No, Pasta. All I'm saying is that go with what you're comfortable with after you feel that you've been informed with informed consent for what decision you're making. That's all I'm saying. I'm not even giving.
I'm with you, babe.
Yeah.
And believe you me, we're not putting all the eggs in one basket, and nobody should.
And that's what I'm saying.
The best advice you gave and the best advice I gave was buy some land if you have the opportunity to.
Oh, 100%.
Land is land,
tangible assets and building your local communities and spending the money on that rather than anything like gold or because that pays back in so much. You won't have to rely on the government as much. You'll build community.
Okay. The second part I want to talk about too is the mining process. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Because I get you that it takes a lot of energy, but the Bitcoin community and a lot of the mining community has turned to other sources of energy. And now, before you talk about the geothermal energy, about as far as like making sure that everybody uses that geothermal energy to get through the whole country, we understand that would be a process, taking geothermal energy from the volcano and getting it out to the whole villages or the towns or wherever they're at of the 22 volcanoes that do exist that are active in El Salvador. That's a whole big process. All the mines are right there by the volcano itself. And if they're using that to enrich their own country, then I have no problem with it. But here's the thing I want to get at. When there are ideas like geothermal energy, if you look at the comparison of what the Bitcoin miners are doing around the world, right, especially in the States, with the oil companies, right? With the gas lines, the heat. You had talked about doing something of natural resources to power to mine the Bitcoin, the solar energy, whatnot. The Bitcoin is trying a lot harder than, let's say, what's going on in America with companies like Coca-Cola and Nestle, who are producing more plastic each year by burning fossil fuels and polluting the world. The Bitcoin community is at least conscious of that, and they are trying to do better ways of mining whatsoever. And if we're going to talk about what electricity use, we all use a phone, right? I think it was like 14% of the grid, of the energy grid in the United States, is consumed by porn every day. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to quit porn. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there is apples and oranges there without argument whatsoever. I like the fact that the Bitcoin community is trying to use natural resources and trying to use renewable energy to mine, as opposed to the American way.
How would you feel
putting
if
on the people and saying,
I
you
know,
just don't
hold on.
recycle enough, Jack. You
I
gotta
got
start
perfect.
washing out your bottles and
I got
throw them in
something
the
perfect
plastic
for you.
bin.
How do you feel about Elizabeth Warren's greening up the military?
She's an idiot. Green new bombs.
Right?
I mean,
so,
come on.
how is that different
it's
from?
bombs,
Oh well, the
Jack.
military
It's
could
bombs.
use. They could use, green bombs and diesel-powered Humvees when they go slaughter people. It'll be fine. I'm kidding. I'm busting your balls, but you get what I'm saying, dude. Like,
I
see,
get
this is what I'm
that, but
saying.
once again, if we
I
wanted to,
just think that's
Coca-Cola and
being
Nestle
very
could have
generous.
switched to hemp, have hemp bottles that are biodegradable. Right now, they didn't do that. They're not even trying. At least the Bitcoin miners are addressing that, and they're trying. And Nayib Bukele is only using his volcanoes to mine Bitcoin, and which, by the way, too, Jack,
Pasta,
it's not an IMF loan. You're actually producing a resource out of the energy that you have, and you don't have to pay it back to the IMF, and you're not putting your people in austerity measures. Go ahead.
100%. I do think there's a tie with El Salvador, the president, and the World Bank. But one thing I want you to really think about very hard is the fact that Chivo, which is the privately funded company, Cell, that's who made the Bitcoin wallet for that country. Now what do you call when public and private partnerships happen?
Fascism,
merger
right? You're talking about when the state merges with corporations, called fascism.
So what is that wallet then, technically?
You don't have
Just
to use
saying.
a Chivo wallet. You don't have to use a Chivo wallet. You can use the Fire Network, Jack Mahler's Fire Network. You don't have to necessarily use the Chivo wallet.
You mean Lightning Network?
Strike.
Strike?
You can use Strike.
Yeah,
this one.
That'd be off the Lightning Network. Yeah.
It's a Lightning Network. It's Jack Mahler's.
Yeah. No, I was saying Strike runs. So the Lightning Network is a scaling solution. Essentially, it just means that you don't use the blockchain to store it until all the transactions are done. But that's even more complicated because then you have to get into liquidity channels, meaning like Pasta, if you wanted to send a transaction without going on the blockchain, I vouch for your transaction and then I escrow that for the other person that has another transaction. And that way your transactions are private, but then I write afterwards, these two people did these transactions, I witnessed it. Here's me saying I witnessed it. That's what Lightning channels are. But they're a fucking bitch to set up, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But if you've ever tried to set one up, I've literally seen people lose full Bitcoins trying to set up Lightning channels and fucking up on a decimal point. Can you imagine? Yeah. So again, this is technology which is fallible, just like all things. But fiat's just as bad. Absolutely, fiat sucks. I'm not saying it's an either or.
It's worse.
So here's my take on all this.
Wall Street, though.
I was just gonna say here's my take on all this and what I'm getting so far is that crypto, just like fiat, is like a tool that can be used, but at the end of the day, the ruling class is trying to get their hands on both of them. They already have their hands on fiat, and they're trying to get their hands on crypto even more.
Because fiat model's dying. The fiat model of doing
right. So they're trying. The enemy's trying to evolve with the times, but we're forced to operate in these systems. And I don't think either of you guys are saying like, oh, we should divest from crypto entirely. Like people are going to be forced to operate with crypto to put a roof over their head, like how Pasta said, right?
Yeah,
for some of them, but not all cryptos, right? Because some are a lot worse than others. Some are doing more evil shit, like for example Cardano. Is that accurate, Jack? Is that what I'm getting out of this?
That's a rough take. Like the way I would put it is that it's a lot of sussery. There's a lot of sus shit, and if you really wanted me to go through all, like I've dug through all these projects since I've known about them, and I review them. I review the source code. I go through them. I make critiques, and I do. Like you heard of fundamentals, like do the fundamentals. I do that for fun, Pasta, and that's how I see the fugaziness. Like they'll do, like, you ever heard of an initial public offering? In crypto, that's called an initial coin offering. Like there's a Wall Street equivalent for every term that I'm telling you, because Wall Street is totally behind crypto doing well. They make money with ETFs, exchange traded funds. Pasta, they don't even have to hold the Bitcoin. So while you're forced to hold your own Bitcoin, Wall Street says, "Oh, I'd like a voucher to say that I hold that Bitcoin while it goes up, but if it goes down in shorts, I'm going to make money both ways, so I'm good." Meanwhile, you're stuck actually holding it, reporting it to the IRS, filling out your check boxes like a good little obedient person. You know, it's a changing of systems is the way that I see it.
Wallets, and we can move their stuff to hard wallets, and eventually guys like you will tell us ways to get around stuff. There are countries that don't have
that's a lot of hope, though. You know, and again,
okay,
maybe
so what is the other
but
alternative, Jack? That's all I'm saying.
I'm not
the
saying
other alternative is going with these bloodsuckers that we already know are evil. Not the fact that you're just trying to get their hands on it, that they already control this entity.
It's like wanting to go but this is what I'm saying. If you have informed consent about what you're getting into with crypto, then I think you're fine. 100%, because you know what you're getting into. You know that you've got these requirements. You're willing to do this. That's fine. But when you see these shows on YouTube and things, when they talk about crypto, they don't tell people, yeah, you got to report taxes on that. Like every day I get some other person telling me some clever way they think that they're going to avoid paying taxes on their crypto. And I'm like, I literally have known people that have had the IRS show up over what you're about to do. Don't do that. Like, don't put your hand in the electricity socket. But more so, that's what I'm kind of arguing for, is informed consent. That's it.
More transparency and allowing people to have more conscious decisions for what they're doing.
Don't force anyone into this. And don't ever force anyone into crypto.
Or trick them, right?
Jack,
just like you wouldn't force them into fiat. We shouldn't force people into crypto. They need to be comfortable with whatever they're getting into, 100%.
And Jack, this is a great approach. This is what you're talking about. And absolutely, it's a great way to combat these people who just kind of fucking fly into crypto endlessly, buy this, buy that, short this, put this money in this money pool. I get that, you know what I'm saying, like that. But the other side of the coin is that the people who are pushing against it don't have the, what's the word we say, the suavecito that you have to say, okay, let's just have informed consent. You have a whole aspect of people. We have a whole aspect of people who are just hating on it.
That's kind
of acting like there is no solution in between when you're pushing for informed consent, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
And we should learn more. And I don't listen to all these donkeys all the time. I listen to some of the donkeys, but then I'll always circle my way back to you, okay? And remember before you did the show too as well, when I was talking, I'm like, Jack, we need to do a show. We need to do the basis of crypto. And I'm so glad you did it with Franco while we were crazy uber busy, because it was informative. It was educational. But we got to understand that people need to eat. People need to have housing, clothing, whatnot, and stuff like that. So they're left with two choices. Like I told Franco, I said, we're not going to start polishing fucking semi-precious stones and trading for loaves of bread. It's just not logical. Yeah. So we have to find the way that we reach a happy medium in this space. And I think you're doing an amazing job by talking about informed consent rather than just 86ing it and looking at people that are stupid because they've already been sanctioned, like me and Franco and Nico have been. And this was their only. We were pushed here. We didn't ask to go here. We were pushed here.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is it's really about, like, we need to get off of this demonization thing for sure. Like I'm speaking in general because I know I've been through it. I was in the crypto community. I would have been this is like, I always tell people, I'm glad I sold. Like, people always like, do you think about, like, do you ever wish you would have not sold the Bitcoin that I sold? Like it was a high enough number to right now we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd be on a private jet somewhere. That's how much I sold for very little, right? And I think about it now and I'm like, no, because I recovered my initial investment and I was able to feed and afford rent for 3 months, food and rent and utilities for 4 months. That's how I wouldn't have made it without doing that sacrifice. And if I would have had that money, I would have become detached and I would have never questioned crypto, because I've seen it. Like I see talented people, Pasta, that they get so detached. It's kind of like with politics. They don't know what's going on with real people and they lose all that spark, that fire, right? Because they don't understand. They can't detach from the asset or what they're talking about, crypto. And so again, like I think everyone should take a holistic approach. Everyone should look at all things, precious metals. Catherine Austin Fitts is an amazing resource, along with if you want to look at how they're going to try to control people with crypto, Pasta, look into Alison McDowell. And I would also look into Sophia Smallstorm. Lon Friedman is really good as well. But essentially to get the counter position of how scary some of this stuff is, that like what they're doing with Cardano in Africa, just to get a counter perspective, because we need to make sure that we don't build our own prisons. And that goes with anything. That goes with fiat, gold, whatever you use. You don't want to be building your own prison with what you're setting up. And I think with informed consent, we can prevent that to a large extent, as much as we can, because we know CBDCs are eventual.
I'm gonna have to look at these people because Max Kaiser's not returning my tweets, my messages anymore.
Oh
so.
no! Oh,
Really?
I got cut off by Max Kaiser.
He may have heard you were gonna do a show with me, man. I'm not like that famous.
How could he have figured that out? Oh, I guess
he's been so crazy though. No, he's been crazy. The guy is awesome. He took care of me in Arizona and whatnot. But it's just like in this business where people go, well, man, this person hasn't responded back to me and stuff. It's like I told Franco the other day. It's like, I don't know about you, but I'm so fucking overwhelmed. I got footage that I haven't released, I haven't even cut. I got stories that I started to write, I haven't finished. There's so much shit going on. We're bouncing from year to year.
It's hard for me to get through.
Our head was spinning on what we're going to be doing this next week. So it's hard,
imagine.
you know what I'm saying? So I don't put that on anybody for not being able to return the calls and whatnot. And I really want to tip my hat off to you, Jack, because, I love the work you guys have been doing.
Thanks, man.
I mentioned your guys' names so many times on my show, the four of you guys, the four horsemen, you know what I'm saying? And,
who are they? Let's. There we go.
On the show,
Ali and Seth, Ali, Shadowban.
Yeah.
Those are the gnomes for truth.
Yeah,
the four horsemen with that and stuff like that. Because the work you guys are doing, diving into these bills, it's incredible. It's so important because it's not being done. You know what I'm saying? But let me just say this much with the community out there and stuff like that, the people who want to push back, there's a way about doing things. You know what I'm saying? You hit it right on the nose. It's just about knowing more. It's about having informed consent, like we should have with the boop boop, but we don't, right? They're just telling us whatever. And we're telling people, hey, they're not giving you informed consent. Look at this information over here. So I understand where you're coming from.
And that's how I feel. Yeah. Like, you know how we feel about the boop boop? That's how I feel about cryptos. I'm like, wait a minute, you're about to get into this and you don't know that they haven't done long-term safety studies. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like that's how I feel.
Yeah, but the thing is, the no boop boop in this situation, we already know that demon. We know the devil in the blue dress. We understand where imperialism's there. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily look at it as the final answer. I just look at it as the next answer. Because really, to tell you the truth, when we talk about this, like, Trump said it was fake. Clinton's telling people not to go in, and the IMF is fencing off Nayib Bukele. So are they really doing this Jedi mind fuck where they're trying to tell you the opposite of what they want you to do? I mean, that is some deep, dark shit over there, Jack, for them to pull that off. Yeah. So once again, I think it's just the next step, not the final step. I screwed up.
Hold on one sec, Pasta. Gnomes for Truth is actually, that's Seb's personal blog, so it has nothing to do with anyone else.
That was my bad. Yeah, that's a... I got a mistake because I saw the 4 there and I was like, I thought it was because of Jack, Seb's, and Ali and Shadowban. But yeah, it's Seb's personal blog. She does great work. I do want to get to some of the questions that are here in the chat, but before I do that, I want to ask my own question here. So is what El Salvador doing, what they're doing, is this a good way to stick it to the man, to Uncle Sam, the U.S.? Is this a good method for them to use?
I mean, they've now exposed all their citizens' transactions to be recorded on a permanent ledger that can never be erased or altered. So, so they've got surveillance now on their citizens. They know what their citizens are buying when they're using Bitcoin. That's one thing. But again, like, kudos to the citizens that are holding, but they're using a third-party developed app, the Shivo app. So you got to now trust Cell, which I don't really trust them a whole lot. So, it's a mixed bag. I'd say that I see this model is going to be adopted a lot because it allows all the narratives to fit. It allows the Bitcoin is counter economics. It allows we can get around sanctions, but they don't mention like you can get around sanctions with other cryptocurrencies. So why don't you hear about those? It's because they don't make money off of those. They don't make money pumping off of some currencies that could keep you private. But this is the problem. Even the currencies that can keep you private, they still have some fugazi shit with them. They've got issues. And that's my problem with them is there's no... I hope Pasta for a day when a project comes along and it passes all of my sniff tests. But until that day reaches with anything, not just crypto, this comes with all technology. It could be a while. So I remain an optimist in that. But seeing this happen, I think it's more of just what's to come. It's just a preview of more of the same.
Let's look at the alternative, right? Jack pointed out a lot of things that are very concerning there right now, especially that their citizens are being tracked for what they spend, whatnot. And the one company, the Chivo, which everybody who signed up didn't necessarily have to do anything, just got $35 that day, which is now worth $62 that day and stuff like that. Also, El Salvador is one of those countries that spend about $50 million a year, I believe it is, $20 to $50 million in any given year on remittance, right? So companies like Western Union will make a ton of money all the time for each of the citizens from America trying to send money home to their family.
Yeah, they can use Green Dot.
$100 each transaction, now spend an average of $1.22 each transaction. What does that $98.78 mean to a family in El Salvador? A hell of a lot, because the other alternative is to be plugged in with the IMF, to have taken that loan, to be forced upon austerity measures where you have to pay back that money then in with loans and interest. So once again, the other alternative for El Salvador, it's like the difference. Do you want to get in a ring with Mike Tyson, or would you rather face a firing squad? I don't want to get in the ring with Mike Tyson, but I'll get in the ring with Mike Tyson before facing a bunch of AK-47 assault rifles pointed at me. So by any means, it's a great move. Nicaragua, which I hope they adopt the same method.
I would see this this like how China does with the Belt and Road Initiative, how they use the carrot, not the stick. It's the same imperialism. It's just under a different name. It's more
not the same
polite.
imperialism. You cannot compare Chinese imperialism.
When you're tying in a system that is tied to Wall Street directly and traded on futures, Pasta, what I'm getting at is that how our fiat is what we use to control the monetary sovereignty, right? But we know that's falling apart. The petrodollar is going to go bye-bye soon. What system's going to replace that? And I know the answer is CBDCs. Now, again, not all cryptocurrencies are CBDCs. CBDCs are actually digital currencies like digital yuan and expiring money. We all know those are bad. But this is the thing, like, let's throw privacy out of this, because the best way I can explain this is, unless you follow a shit ton of steps, you're never going to be even close to getting close to private, but you should always assume that you're not anyway. Throw that argument out. What I'm getting at here is that because Wall Street can short and long this market, Pasta, they can take it up and down. And then Wells are a whole other story. People like Michael Saylor, Bitcoin Grayscale Trust, can move entire markets from 30K to 50K in one day.
Okay. That's not an argument I'm ready to have with you, a debate ready to have with you, because I don't know enough about that. And there's people who, I don't know about manipulation of the market, whatnot, because from what I've heard too as well,
look into why
they tried to do it, but now they can't succeed anymore because Bitcoin is now spread throughout the whole planet. But let me just finish my original point, though. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not denying that, but there's only another alternative. And the majority of transactions that take place in El Salvador that aren't cash are done through a bank. The same type of lack of privacy that you want to get whatsoever. But if you take money from the IMF, you have to pay it back with a loan. If you mine Bitcoin from a volcano and you have 22 active volcanoes to do so, you're creating free money from the geothermal energy. At any rate, there are still concerns with what's going on, but it blows away buying into the IMF, the fiat currency. That is what the West is doing, and that is why they're so pissed off of what's going on. Is it the final solution? No, but it's definitely the next solution. My opinion.
I'm just saying, this isn't like Mama Joe's Bitcoin mining co. Like, this isn't going to be a mom and pop outfit that's running this. This is going to be one of the mining cartels, and they're going to be using Chinese made hardware, which they got pre-spec before the rest of the market gets it, because they front run market. This is why I got out of Bitcoin, Pasta. I found that they were front running, essentially getting ahead of the market with ASICs, and which are very special chips that they use to mine from geothermal. Now, I'm not going to, you don't have to know about ASICs. No, I didn't go
work for the banks then?
No.
Well, if you had a choice to work for either one, which one would you do, Jack?
No, because I think they're both fucked. Like, to an extent.
But we understand that, but we have to live, we have to eat, we have to have.
You
have to choose one. Believe me, I hate this conversation, because when it comes to elections,
I'm not saying
people are
like,
we got to vote for Trump, otherwise Biden will be in. You got to vote for Biden unless Trump will be in. Like, no, there's other names on the ballot. There are not other names on the ballot yet. When it comes to this situation, it's either you opt out of fiat or you stay with the IMF.
But you gave one earlier, which was invest in property, invest in like tangible assets.
Not as a nation. How is a nation going to do that?
Yeah, and I'm just saying, like, do we really think this be a third? You got to remember, this isn't controlled by the government. The app is controlled by a private party. What this essentially means, Pasta, is they could say, oh, well, now they could essentially issue CBDC type rules, right, of control, because it's an app, and that's how people are interfacing. Now they can use other wallets, fine. But what I'm kind of getting at is this doesn't really do bupkis like from them on the long term. They've got $30, and their transaction fee for that first transaction could be up to $3 if their wallet's calibrated wrong. Like, you realize, like, their wallet could, like, it could be the wrong time of day. Their entire transaction could be $15 of that $30 that they just spent, which is going to be worth a lot more later on. That's kind of what I'm getting at. They were never given informed consent. That's why I think there was the protest. Like, if you go back to that article that was from RT, you'll see that they even mentioned that they're process testing over the app. I'm curious as to why, because I want to know what shadiness they're doing. So again, I don't really see it as liberating them from anything right now. Now, is the IMF any better? Fuck no. But But we got to at least be
It's
honest
worse,
about what
and
they're
you know
going
it's
through.
worse. You know,
Yeah.
if you had to choose between the two, you're going to go the other route. You're not going to go with the IMF. We know this, and that's the only point I'm trying to make. And I get it. There is not a lot of informed consent, but they already know, especially in countries in the North Triangle like El
So would
Salvador,
you be
Honduras,
okay with them bringing
Guatemala.
vaccines
They
down
know
there?
the other choice. There's been blood spilt in their country over that banking system.
So I
We
have, I
have
have
to
a
understand that.
question. I have a question for Pasta. How is this different from the lesser of two evils argument that's used for elections?
Because there is no other third choice on the crypto IMF ballot. You know what I'm saying? You have to eat. You have to have food. You need resources to live. This is not a simple situation of saying we're going to opt out of these two parties and hope for a third party to work or vote. There is other people on the ballot. There's no other choice on the ballot. If you do not go with the IMF, you're stripped of resources. The only other option out of that is a option like Bitcoin or a
Pasta, the
cryptocurrency.
only reason why there's not a third option on there is we as a society haven't put one there.
So there should be
Gotcha.
more
And when
conversations on
society
another
puts it
option.
there, then we'll have another option. There's already other choices on the ballot there. I voted for Gloria Relief.
But we know the elections are rigged, Pasta.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter who we vote
well.
for. The elections are
Yeah.
rigged. So if you know the elections are rigged, are you still going to go vote? That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Is as
Yeah,
long
I know
as
what
you
you're
know
getting
that
at.
the
Yes, and
system's rigged,
I encourage people still to
Yeah.
vote, because if we can create a system that is fair, then we'll be in the practice of voting. Listen, if you're an anarchist and you're a bunch of guys and you're on the land and you have to make a decision when you go out there and do something, you're still going to vote. Voting is always the process of saying, what does the majority say to do? So we shouldn't stop in that process.
I'm with you 110% on all the election integrity stuff. Trust me. Like, I was going over the forensic Pasta. I used to do forensics. I was going over the audits to try to figure out how they deleted those database files, because I knew what trick they likely did
Arizona?
to get them to admit that. Yeah, at the Arizona audit, I knew what trick they did because I've done it before. It's where you claim that you don't have the database files and then you have them. But anyway, long story short, I'm with you 100%. But what I'm getting at is that we need to look at it as from the standpoint as informed consent. We need to bring it back to that, because there truly is a lack of it when it comes to cryptos. And that's where I have an issue, because with fiat, I feel there's more knowledge through like the MMT people and all that there's more knowledge on how fiat works, but there's not really on how crypto works from the basic standpoint of how a transaction works. Even I've yet to find a single person that just got into it that can walk me through a whole transaction. Whereas if you and I use cash or gold, I could walk someone through that.
Yeah. But it's the scarcity and who gets that cash and gold. That's the whole problem. And I'm not saying that isn't a problem. With the MMT people, the thing that's crazy about it is that they just acknowledge that this is how money is made. They don't acknowledge any solutions. They think that if we know that the Fed does this and the Congress does this, that it's going to change. No, they're going to still fucking behave the same way. Nothing's changing there. Just the fact that we know how money is made and appropriated. You know what I'm saying? And I understand what you're saying.
And in
but once
cryptos,
again,
we
at
have
the end of the
wells.
day,
And
you
the wells
understand the
are
mechanism of controlling the gold, the mechanism of controlling cash is different than Bitcoin itself. We understand that.
Yeah, just in that it uses
If you
proof of
present the
work.
third solution, I'm there. You tell me what it is.
But that's what I'm saying is that
diversifying our portfolio, buying land, buying resources. I'm for that. But at the end of the day, all I'm saying is that this way right now, that is the next step is better than the last step, because we understand how the money is controlled.
And Pasta, I'm not even going to argue on you need to be able to live and eat. Like, why would I even argue against that? I want it to be clear. Like, I'm not telling anyone what to do with their money, because I hate that. Like, I've been told what to do with, like, I was told that I was an idiot so many times by people for selling my Bitcoin. And I just told them, I was like, no, I'm good. That's a weight. That would have been a burden. And the more I think about it, I didn't have a choice. I had to live. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to be able to afford 4 months of rent. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was really not an option.
And what did you do?
Yeah.
You moved that money into what? The fiat money, and used the fiat money that's backed by a
think about that.
bullet and a gun to pay the bills. So you're
Pasta,
damned if
think
you
about
do,
that real quick.
Don't, Jack.
Think about that real quick,
sucks.
Pasta. If you get into crypto, what do you got to do when you got to go to the store now? If they don't take that cryptocurrency, you got to cash out in
the
fiat
answer right
or
now. It's
centralized
not accessible
exchange.
to everywhere. Absolutely,
Yeah.
we understand that. Yeah, we have to convert it, and I'm saying that's the choice we have, and that sucks. The third option isn't there yet.
Fiat's
If
still
it's there,
in the
I'm ready
process,
for
though.
it.
Yeah, fiat's still in the process, though. Is very important that we understand that fiat is still very much. In fact, Bitcoin's tied to
Absolutely.
fiat.
Look,
I wanted
I'm ready
to just address this because the chat keeps bringing this up. Shadowban brought this up earlier. He said, no, El Salvador is buying Bitcoin more than mining it on a loan. That loan from the IMF That is a terrible idea. You guys want to address that real quick?
Yeah,
They
that's a
haven't
great
taken the loan.
observation.
So go ahead. They haven't
Well,
taken the last loan. Go ahead, Jack.
yeah, just the loan. So the wallet, first off, is I don't know if you guys read, but they were having issues with identity thieves. But yeah, so the if you go to that was it the RT article that you had?
I did, yeah. You want me to bring it back
So
up? Or
yeah,
just
so this is how this happened. Was that so there was a company that was renamed Shivo. It invested. Sorry. Yeah. So Shivo de invested 60 million through the El Salvador Development Bank, Ban de Sal. They received dollars from the Treasury Department. These funds were used to buy the BTC. And then there was also a loan, though. So there's also a loan that you guys got to keep in mind, too, as a whole other thing.
okay.
I'm not sure if you had that article up.
Which
Is
one?
it on there? I think
Chivo?
that one right there. Yeah, scroll down on that one. There it is.
I can zoom in a little more.
Oh, no, I thought it was there.
Maybe it's a little bit more down here.
Yeah, so it's going through the Shivo app. Just do a search for loan. Just do keyword search for loan.
No, loan is not here.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
wonder if it's here.
I'll try to find the article.
Okay.
That's a great point, because if they did a loan, then what? How does that make it different from the IMF, if based on those loan conditions? Yeah, so they're doing Bitcoin bonds. Yeah, this is what it was. So the Bitcoin bonds are going to be towards building a Bitcoin city near the Chenunga volcano, and they're going to have special rights for people around that volcano too. Essentially, no taxes on income, property, and capital gains. So they're incentivizing people to move around there. So they're going to. So El Salvador is actually issuing 1 billion in Bitcoin bonds backed by Bitcoin.
Future mining.
I don't know how they're going to be funding that. It's funny because there's actually arguments for the IMF to go into El Salvador, but and again, like I do think it would be interesting to look into the ties between the World Bank and whatever the president's name is. But honestly, like there's just there's a lot of stuff. Like things are very like organic systems in particular, and the way this stuff works. Like my main thing is that when you're looking at a situation like El Salvador, and I knew some people that were around there during the time, they didn't want to show me what the protesters were saying. They wanted to go show me Bitcoin Beach. What I'm getting at is this is a phenomenon, because to me, they should have had someone interviewing them saying, what's going on? Like, why are you out here protesting? And I think that's more of an attitude, because if we have something and it's making us money, we don't sometimes want to look at it too much. That's all I'm saying, is that be skeptical. If any of my message comes across, it's that. And then informed consent, just like with vaccines. I feel boop boops. I feel the same way.
Yeah. So yeah, I am skeptical. I'm skeptical of everything, and I'm cynical of everything. That's just the way I am. But once again, I'm just saying, if there's two alternatives, and this alternative is here, and just want to address something in the chat over here too as well, because somebody said that when you look at China and you look at America and you think that China's imperialism is the same as America, I think that's just a really twisted thought. I mean, once again, and I know a lot of people in this network always bring to light the fact that China is no Boy Scout by any means whatsoever, but China has 3 bases outside of its own country in foreign entities. America has 78 bases in the global South alone. You know what I'm saying? We've seen the behavior of China, what they do when they go in with their money and their infrastructure, like they did in Ethiopia, like they're doing the Belt and Road Initiative. It's very different than what the United States does and says, if you don't play by our rules, we're going to manufacture consent for us to bomb you in a way. And that's what they do. It's 2 totally different things. Not to say we shouldn't be on the lookout for China, but it's not even the same when it comes to American imperialism. It's just a weird kind of alternative to kind of say it's almost the same.
They actually updated our model, Pasta. You're right.
What?
They actually updated our model. They took our Chicago, I think Chicago School of Economics, they took that model and updated it.
Who?
If you listen to John Perkins' Confessions of an Economic Hitman, he's about to release a book on China where he essentially discusses how China's using his model that he used, right? You remember from Confessions of an Economic Hitman how they send in the IMF, right? The process you're just talking about. He talks about how China's doing that with the Belt and Road. They're clever, they're smart, they're actually doing win-win type investments because they know that's the best way to do this.
Yeah, but it's also they get a lot of business coming their way because they're not forcing people,
Yeah,
down their throats with the military. It's a wholly different situation. You know what I'm saying? Any way
precisely.
you look at it, they're going in with their money and their infrastructure rather than going in with their military.
But again, I'm from the standpoint that all governments are shady as fuck.
I got it. And I'm not saying they're not shady, but once again, if you want to compare the two, that's a hard comparison to make. Also, the fact is when somebody said it in the chat too as well, that if you think from switching to one currency to the other is the solution, then you don't understand the problem. I'd like to let a little bit more insight to that because once again, we're not going to rub semi-precious stones and start going out and trading it for bread. We're not going to be able to do that. We still have to buy things. We have to get resources for our families, a roof
What
over
if
our head, food
tomorrow
on the table,
everyone
and stuff.
as
So
a
I mean,
form
we
of
have to find
currency
a way.
just
And you wanna
hugged?
just
We gave
present to
hugs.
me instead of just saying, "Well, I'm just saying you have to be skeptical of it. You have to have informed consent." Present to me a third solution. I'm waiting for a third
Yeah.
solution from you or anybody in the chat. Give me a third solution. Opt out of crypto. Opt
Go
out of fiat currency. What do I do?
go help 3 random people today. Just do it. Or tomorrow. Don't tell anyone about it. You can't tell anyone about it. Just do that and start from there. And then when it comes to all this stuff, informed consent. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, quite honestly, like,
Yeah.
I'd feel better if people were doing 3 kind things for people they don't even know every day, because that would just
Can't
spread
we
out.
still do that and go buy groceries?
Yeah, absolutely. That's like, this is what I'm saying, Pasta, is like, I agree with you, but the thing is we really agree on a lot of these fundamentals, and I think that that's important because I hope that you understand that's where I'm coming from. It's not that I'm saying all cryptos are bad or fiat is good magically, because that's a false argument, to say, well, because no crypto, because crypto fiat, no fiat. No, because you still got to cash out into fiat in our current system. But again, just like you said, we're stuck with this. So we got to do the best we can. So my argument is
Absolutely.
this: do the best that you can do out there, but inform yourself and never let anyone gaslight you on anything that you fucking know, because you are your own expert. There's no trusting the experts and trusting the science. The science is never settled. You settle the science when you investigate this shit on your own. And
Yeah.
that's the best advice that I can give. And be skeptical of every motherfucker,
That's
especially if
the
they
best
have an
advice you
interest to
give.
tell you a lie.
The best advice you give was to diversify, right? Buy land, buy
Oh yeah.
precious metals, whatnot. And I agree with that. And obviously having informed consent. But I mean, it gets to a point where some people are so negative about crypto that they don't even have a solution. And that's why I've asked for that solution, because they never come up with one. I mean, people are attacking in certain groups. They're saying that what's with all Julian Assange collecting all these cryptos for so many years and making millions of dollars and stuff like that. Let me just say this much. Julian Assange was sanctioned and cut off from every single Western bank or what can be, whether it be PayPal, Venmo, anything. He had no other way to do things. And the man was running a business. He was running a news network. To think that he can just walk away and not use crypto or Bitcoin to help himself out. He didn't live at his parents' house and
again,
have his laundry folded for him.
I'm with
And they
you
didn't
on
have
this, Pasta.
lasagna
Yeah.
Fridays where his friends came over and played video games. He was running a business. And people have to be realistic of that. Just like we're running businesses. We're trying to do the best we can. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're doing out here. Franco,
I
the
think the
NCSC
contention
network, and
comes
stuff like
in.
that. We were pushed into this avenue. So there has to be a solution. You know what I'm saying? You can't just say, let's cut this off, let's cut that off, and let's just go out and help people and think we're going to be able to make a living and do what we're doing. That's just not logical.
We
That's
have a disagreement
unrealistic.
there only on that. I think literally if everyone did go out tomorrow and help 3 random people, that the world would be a much better place just in general. Even if just people
Absolutely,
watching and this group did that, I think that would change the world massively. But again, like, that's the only argument I have with that, because I'm not saying don't make money, Pasta. That's quite the opposite. I'm saying be aware that people are going to be selling a lot of bullshit and fugazi ass shit stuff, and they're known to do it. And it's sus. So much stuff is sus, Pasta. The more I follow the money, remember, follow the money. The more I follow the money on crypto, and it goes. The digital currency group I heard mentioned 14 times today. Like, it's fucked up. Like, they've got their hands up so many people's asses in these different cryptocurrencies that it's insane. And again, like, if you ever have any questions on that, I've done a deep dive. I think the second one Franco and I did, we also covered the DAO hack, so that you can see how crypto has violated everything it says it is, like decentralization. Like, and again, just showing you arguments both ways, because I think again, it's a balanced diet. And it's you're right. It's not full condemnation, but it's meeting people in the middle on some of this stuff to kind of like figure out, because we all got to work together, and that's the most important thing. So for me, if you give informed consent and you're doing your audience a service and you're preferencing things with like, look, I believe this could be something, but still saying, but we never know anything, right? Just at least saying the extra mile length there to get people to really be skeptical of a lot of things.
Yeah.
I wanna bring
solutions. If we don't understand the problem, we understand the problem.
Yeah.
If you'd like to come on and give us a solution, please do so, instead of screaming from the bleachers. Okay, come on here like an adult and give us a solution. We understand the problem, and everybody understands it completely. But at the end of the day, we understand that we have to bring resources into our livelihoods, and there's only two ways to do it. So once again,
and it's really sad that people are judging people
screaming from the fucking bleachers again.
Well, and Pasta,
respectively.
Yeah. And Pasta, personally, from my perspective, I think it's gross. Anyone that's criticizing someone for making money off of like one of these platforms, because they've been given no other option. So It's kind of like kicking someone while they're down. So first off, if anyone's saying that, I don't agree with that. And I think that's been conflated with my positions on crypto a lot, because I'm not out here preaching about Bitcoin just because I know I can criticize every currency that you could possibly name for me. I can find something wrong with everything because I care. But, just like with election integrity, Pasta, like, I don't think that you're going to miss anything because I know you fucking care. I know if they mess something up, you're going to have that covered. You're going to show me, and you're going to cover it with fee. Like, that's what I know. You know what I'm saying? That's how I am with cryptos. So when I see people saying things that's only half the truth, it kind of gets to me a little bit, because if people knew the full story, maybe they would make a decision, and it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that it should be a good or a bad one, but they'd at least know more before they did it. That's my whole position.
Yeah, I've loved your position. I've loved your position. It's a very, what I'm saying, there's a way to talk, and there's a way to get your point across, and there's a way to move people, and you have to do it the right way. So and I think you do.
Well, and again, anyone giving you or fee, or anyone on any of these network shit because you're on some platform, fuck them. Like, they don't know what you guys are going through. No one does. You guys know what you're going through.
It's like
I never will.
Getting mad at somebody for having stocks or for using Robinhood or using Acorns. Like, like
or
people
fiat,
have to,
because fiat's used and backed by the military. That's like getting upset at a poor person for accepting a dollar bill that you gave them.
So I want to,
and if I have the opportunity to opt out of like oil companies and anything else with my trust, for my family, with my money, my family knows that. I don't want that money. I don't want to be involved with that money. That's the type of person I am. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
That's
and
the type
so
of people we
here's
are at the combo couch.
Pasta.
We always do the best we can.
I got another solution
Sometimes
for
we
you.
only have,
I think what
solution for you is do your due diligence, but also, like, when you do your due diligence, make sure that you're using cryptocurrencies. Like, I don't know how to phrase this, but look for, if things are doing outright evil shit, like Cardano, which a lot of these projects, avoid those motherfuckers. Divest from those if you're involved in crypto at all. I think that's a good middle ground for some people, because you're at least not back. Like, I was always taught, like Catherine Austin Fitz says, you never finance your enemies. So if you know someone's doing surveillance in AI in Ethiopia and putting 5 million kids on the blockchain with Cardano, don't support Cardano.
What Jack what he wants is more transparency from a lot of these
100%.
what he calls Bitcoin bros or crypto bros that are on YouTube that don't discuss any of the problems that are happening, any of the abuses that they're doing in the global south,
because they're afraid of making it look bad, just like politicians. Pasta.
Yeah.
They won't criticize a politician because they're afraid it'll make them look bad, and we've all seen that with our friends.
I want to address this part right here because this is something that we've discussed on this show in terms of the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Are they going to use cryptocurrency as a tool to engender this? We're seeing a lot of evidence
100%.
that they will, and that they've already started. So Red Sea Socialist says, how about the technocratic nightmare that crypto has the potential to bring on, though? Fourth Industrial Revolution. Any word on that, guys?
So some ones to look out for, again, like a lot of this crypto and a lot of this technology, when you really get to brass tacks, it's all very sustainable development goalies, like all over the place. And when you look at what Cardano is doing with their sustainable things and all that, but really it boils down to this, and that's that the World Economic Forum, this is critical that they lock up a lot of elements of anything that could possibly be free pasta, they've got to now lock down for CBDCs and for mass surveillance, and a lot of this in digital twins, the metaverse, all of this stuff demands blockchain. They need it for that. The metaverse, they need NFTs. They need all of this stuff running, and they need a transparent ledger so that they can do all this stuff, because then they've always got this permanent excuse. Well, it happened on the general ledger so everyone can see, which can be used in multiple ways. But kind of what I'm getting at is that let's make sure we don't build our own prisons. And that comes with being informed when we do things.
Yeah.
I think it's that simple.
As we also know too as well, most of the transactions that happen with fiat currency in America go through digital transactions, which then they can track us as well. You know what I'm saying? 90% of the people who make their money, right? They make their money.
Yeah, but I on my couch,
so
I on my couch can't pull up your credit card history, but I on my couch can pull up your entire Bitcoin history of every transaction that you've ever done, and then know how much you have in your wallet and go after you and start targeting you. Just because everything that you've done is on a ledger.
But other entities...
I'm on the low end of skilled pasta. I know some people that can look at one address and immediately like find 3 hops later where exactly that person. Yeah, but what I'm getting at is that
we know who's sitting on the other end of the Western banking system watching everything. We understand there's Big Brother there as well. So you know what I'm saying? It's, once again, I get what you're saying. But it's those capabilities are on the other end, and they're done on the other end. You know what I'm saying? Where the banks, central banks, give over your information to give you up. Look what happened with the January 6th situation. They were tracking people who were there by their the ATMs they were using.
Well, this is what's brilliant about it, Pasta. They don't even have to give your information up. You've already given it up. It's on the blockchain. It's permanent. That's kind of the sad part about it.
The bank's going to have every single transaction they have, and they can give that all over
100%
to the IMF and the central banks. We know that. I'm just saying the other option is not good too as well. So it's you're stuck
like
either way.
We're up shit creek and we don't have any paddles. we've got a half of an oar
and
and
honest to God truth. But when you weigh the
a giraffe leg.
Once again,
Like, I'm trying to think of the most useless things you could use to try to paddle a boat in a shit creek. A turd. We've got a turd and something other turdy. We've got 2 turds, Pasta. Which one do we want to polish? No, I'm just kidding.
I know which turd I'm polishing, but the thing is that the other turd I wasn't allowed to polish it no more. Franco, on the same day, the same time, we got the emails and said you're not allowed to have this turd, so you get no turds. So we had to look for
what we were talking about,
turds.
Franco? I think we were talking about the digital currency group, if I'm being honest.
Are you referring to the original question I asked last?
Oh, I'm lost.
So what was it that you asked? Like something about the digital currency?
Oh, remember when your video got pulled? Do you remember what we were talking about?
Oh, so that's what you asked. Okay. They didn't get me for that. It's just that coincidentally I was streaming while they gave me a strike.
Oh,
they gave me a strike for discussing what's his name?
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan had on Sanjay Gupta. I made a video about it, and they strike me for a video that I had unlisted, and then they removed some other videos that I had. It was from a live stream, and so they got rid of that video also, even though that one was also unlisted. So yeah, it was coincidental. I don't think that they got me for any discussions about cryptocurrency, but who knows? Maybe they will at some point. I don't know. It's just it was just so annoying. Like we were in the middle of a live stream and then it gets pulled down.
Dude, we know what that's like.
I thought what we said. Yeah.
We know what that's like. We know what that's like. It's terrible. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so I think this was a good conversation. Because Pasta, you hit on a lot of things. I think it's shitty that people are going to give people hell who are just trying to survive when they have no other means. I think that's shitty. I also think it's shitty that we've got these systems of control that could have been systems of liberation, but it's just to see the amount of co-option. It's just like when you realize it's Coke versus Pepsi in some aspects, And again, like we can disagree on that. Like the only goal I have is to help you learn as much as I can possibly teach you, because that way it passes on. Me teaching you or anyone else for that matter. That's why I'm very open on my knowledge, is because that's how I do good in this world. Is I'm supposed to share my knowledge. That's my role. Yeah.
And let me tell you something. The way you present things, the way you teach people things, that's the way to do it. That's really important.
Oh, thanks, man.
I tell a lot of people in this business that what you say is just as important as how you say it. Because when you say it in a certain way and you're very demeaning and you're standoffish and you treat people like shit, you know what I'm saying? They're not going to listen. They're going to close down. But when you did your shows and I was listening to it, I was so open to listening to what was going on, and I wanted to listen to more and hear more. So, you know what I'm saying? There's just a way we have to communicate better as well. And I think you're the person to do this. And, you know, I'm so glad that Franco brought you on for that show, and I'd love to do that. I've been talking about your work, and I'm going to continue to
Let's
talk
do it,
about your
man.
work.
In fact, hit me up on the best place to get at me is in Discord. If you've forgotten, I change my name a lot, so if you need to get my name through someone else, just let me know. But let's just make sure to connect, and then again, we can go over like some topics, or like we can just, if you ever have a question on crypto, come hit me up. I'll literally spin a voice chat and just go over everything with you that I can possibly help you understand, because that helps everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it helps
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
And helping a person, again, like I go back to helping a person is what I always go back to, because I think that's where we start. We help each other, and then that helps us help ourselves.
Okay.
Informed consent is important, whether it be the boop boop or crypto. I agree.
Bam.
1,000.
And that's the main thing we all agree on here, is having more informed consent, more conscious decisions,
Let's
more
not censor
awareness, and more
ourselves.
transparency from everybody who does talk about Bitcoin. And they should be
Precisely.
aware of everything that's going on with these different cryptocurrencies. Do you guys have time for one more question here that I thought it was
Go ahead, brother.
interesting?
Sure.
This is from Yelbro, being delivered to us from Ali Alexander. Says, what's the end goal of the fourth industrial revolution, and how does Bitcoin fit in?
So I'll cover this one real quick. The goal of the fourth industrial revolution is essentially complete control. They want everything. They've made as much money as they can off of this, so they have to create an entire universe called the metaverse to then do impact investing and all kinds of stuff in the real world, while, you know, also fucking over Africa and any, you know, nation in the global south that they can put their paws on. But, you know, blockchain, Bitcoin, all of this is critical, because they got to move out of an aging system. And they got to naturalize and normalize us to using cryptocurrencies. That's what I'm getting at, Pasta, is that I'm seeing people normalizing not thinking about taxes, normalizing not thinking about wallet addresses, normalize not learning about something because it's a little bit easier if I don't know this. And that's where I get afraid, because it makes me really question, why are these people pushing it, the people who we see pushing it on YouTube and who have all these people. So really, you can't have the fourth industrial revolution without blockchain. It's crucial to it, because that technology allows for this thing where essentially they're allowing the building of your own prison, quite literally, when you
Full on
again,
digital.
coins like Cardano. Yeah, coins like Cardano. But again, this relates to all cryptos, because in essence, it's not necessarily the blockchain aspects to some extent, but it is very much so on their surveillance aspect. Because when you can get people to sign into their own surveillance, you've then let people build their own prison, Pasta. So when you get people to then put their transactions public, like I'm assuming you grew up around probably some bookies like I did. You knew that there were
my family, of course.
So allegedly there may have been a set of books that no one knew about, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that with Bitcoin. Now you could technically maybe do a Lightning network.
Everything's known.
You could technically do that with a Lightning network, but I'm not going to go into it.
No, I mean, what a lot of people are thinking that the other alternative is the fact that they just want to get used to using stuff digitally, and they want you to use their digital coins, right? And when you use their digital coins, you face the same obstacle. You face the same firing squad. You know what I'm saying? If not worse, a firing squad that has a history of gunning people down. You know what I'm saying? So I get you. I get what you're saying. So it is. We don't have that option on the table yet, whatnot. So it's a quagmire in any way you look at it. You know. And when you talk about things like the metaverse and whatnot, those things are scary too sometimes, because you think, you know, people just want to be plugged into the system. It's like a modern day fucking matrix that they're building right in front of your eyes. So believe you me, I'm aware of all.
And that's the best way to think of it.
You know?
Like, look at the Gates patent 60606, whatever, the Gates patent for using your own body to mine cryptocurrencies. And that's, in a nutshell, the fourth industrial revolution in my eyes, because they want to turn us into batteries and then make us think that we're somehow getting a benefit through some currency that we know is going to be dog shit. Because that's the thing, Pasta. We all know that when the CBDCs, it's not just a linchpin. They can technically declare USDC, Coinbase, back to be the CBDC and be done with it. But when those come in, it's going to be whole other levels of hell when we see expiring money. So we're going to see a push. Like, that's why I'm getting at, is that if we don't inform people now about all the aspects, like, we got to get uncomfortable with like different things that we may admire or think are good, because we need to be able to cover all aspects of them. That's all I'm saying, from
Yeah.
many
Well,
angles.
what Jack sees is all these people building up hope for Bitcoin. It's like, this is the way out. We're gonna stick it to the man.
Yeah.
This is the future. We can opt out of the system by using cryptocurrency, but then they're not aware of how the ruling
They're
class
being
has their
tracked.
hands on it now,
Absolutely.
and they're gonna
And we're not
use it
putting
for the fourth
in mind,
industrial
right?
revolution.
We're
Huh?
not in everybody's mind. What if I told you I was using the system that it is in place right now to make enough where I can then get off the grid and go live where there's just nothing but avocados and mangoes falling on me and living in commune style living?
I'd say invite
You know what
me
I'm saying?
and we're good to go, because that sounds
Exactly,
awesome.
right? So I mean, they're
But with the
everybody's
new
got the same goal,
with
everybody's got
the
the same ideal. So
Yeah,
I mean,
so
with the
positive,
infrastructure bill, though, as I discussed with Shadowban, they're even trying to make that impossible because they're going to surveil
So-
even the forest if you try to run
So-
away there.
Pasta, here's the issue: is that
it's-
if you do a crypto transaction over $10,000 and you do not KYC, mean know your customer, getting their ID and verifying who they are, it's a felony. That's why Ted Cruz was advocating pro Bitcoin on TV earlier. I don't know if you caught that.
I did
Like
not.
they're using it as a political football now, 100%. You're going to see like the crypto bros themselves, like Charles Hoskinson from ADA, is like a stereotype. He picks all of the, like, he's for a certain treatment. I can't say that begins with an I. He's for certain stuff, you know.
A
Very
certain treatment
curated.
begins with an I, ends with a actin.
So I talked to my friend the other day who works for a major bank the other day, and I said, what amount of people that you know, your customers, that are getting hit from the IRS when it comes to cryptocurrency versus getting hit from the IRS from transaction they make through their banks? He says it's through their banks is 1,000 times more fold of getting spied upon, looked upon, censored, you know what I'm saying, fined than there are in crypto transactions right now. So I hear what you're saying, but
right now,
like I said,
blockchain analytics doesn't sleep. So in 5 years, when they don't like your political speech and they know every wallet address that you've now held your Bitcoin in, you go to spend it and you've made all this money on it, they then say, oh, that's a tainted Bitcoin address. We can't take it from you.
They're already doing it right now. They're already kicking us in
They
the
are.
nuts right now as we speak with fiat
Yeah.
money. So it's
I'm just giving you the scenario. With
I'm
fiat,
screwed either way. I'm on the run, but they can catch me. But they got to catch me.
That's
right?
what I'm
So,
saying. We got to all do what we can, man. Like, I'm not going to, you don't get mad at someone for the hustle. You get mad at them for the game. They got to play in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I don't really get mad at the hustle when people get mad at the game. Once again, it's just about communication and the way you communicate.
I get mad at the
big
game
thing.
just
We
because
have
I
to- we
study
have to learn
game
how to do
theory.
that. We talk about going out being nice to people, right, and going out there and helping people. That really definitely implies with communication. There's a way to say things, and it's so important the way you say it, to not just what you're saying. And you know, I don't want to say anything else about that.
Any final words you guys want to leave the audience with?
No, I just think this
I
was a
love
great
Jack.
conversation.
I've always loved Jack. I always
Oh,
will
thanks,
love
Buck.
Jack. He's welcome at any time. I'm so proud of the work he's doing with his crew, the Four Horsemen, and I look forward to seeing more of their stuff, their articles, everything they have going on. I also want to plug Shadowban Refugees. Got a brand new article out there. We did a video on it, and some of the maps that are in that
Shadowban's got
article,
an
some of the maps we
amazing
use on our
article,
show.
everyone.
What's that?
Shadowban's got an amazing article.
Awesome. So far, I haven't even read it.
100%.
It's long. It's big.
It's a
right,
it's a
guys.
beautiful. It's almost as magnificent as his beard. Sorry.
Nothing's more magnificent than that.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to say I love both of you guys, and we need more of these conversations, and let's keep building
Oh.
up consciousness.
Final thing, I would highly recommend everyone go to wrenchinthegears.com. That's Alison McDowell's website. Again, to get a differing perspective from everyone else, that's a great resource. She's very thorough. She cites all of her sources, and she does a great job covering this stuff. So I highly recommend everyone go to her website. Again, it's wrenchinthegears.com.
Definitely a great source, Alison McDowell's research. And with that being said, guys, you're not alone, clearly, from what you see in the chat and the community in general. And I know you will stay informed. Take care.